Hey guys, hey everybody, ladies and gentlemen. I am Makeda Valletta. I am live on my backup IG page, Queen_Lionessa, because my main IG page is disabled. I'm trying to get it back. I will save this and re-upload it to my YouTube page. So be sure to follow me in both places. So in case you're familiar with me, I am a holistic health practitioner, and part of that, is, and also a sacred sexual educator. So I also, with that, I'm very much into being a shapeshifter and trying to put myself in other people's shoes and understand from different perspectives. I'm obviously a woman, but I have, tried very hard to understand men as well. My other half is male, meaning I have a twin brother, male, and I grew up in the house of both of my parents and very close to my dad. Most of my best friends, the people who really keep me sane in this world, are men. Some of the people who I feel like get me the most are men. But I have, men and women, we are different creatures for sure. But I've always been into studying and wondering what's masculine and what's feminine. What's people say girls are supposed to do this, boys are supposed to do that. I've always questioned that, right? And I've always felt like I was somewhere in between with that. Like, I'm definitely a woman, but I like, girly stuff, wear, nice outfits and be cute. But I also was an athlete. I'm not afraid to get dirty, So I kind of found myself to be kind of tomboyish, but a tomboyish that could throw on a dress and look fly, right? So not quite a tomboy, but not a super prissy girly girl neither. And so these ideas of what's masculine and feminine, and there are double standards too, right? And also like when people say, so-and-so, like when people say that a man's acting like a chick because he's talking a lot or he's being emotional, I always find that to be funny because I feel like men talk way more than women. Like, usually when people find out who's having sex with who, it's because a man is talking. Women don't usually talk. Women usually keep their mouth shut. And men who know how to keep their mouth shut usually get more in life, okay? But it's usually a man that's running his mouth. And men aren't even always telling the truth. Men lie a lot too, But men are the ones that be running off at the mouth. When people say that, or even the emotional thing, like, I've seen so many emotional men in my life, okay? Even the fact that men get violent and start to fight, that's emotion to me, okay? That's also emotion. Like, just having outbursts of rage, violent rage, that's emotion. Or when people say things like, men, people act like only men are sexual beings. Men like variety. So do women, okay? Just that quiet is kept, so do women. Women just don't really say that because most women have been affected by religion, and there's so much shame around sexuality. I mean, men and women both a lot of times have this sexual shame placed on them from religion, but it affects women even more. And a lot of women really care what men think, and they really want the company of a man, and they really want the acceptance of a man. So women are a lot more likely to put their needs in the back burner and to act like they don't need that or they don't want that to appease a man. So women actually tiptoe over men's egos a lot more than men think, okay? And a lot of times I hear this it's like, it's not just men who do that, right? So, and I hear these relationship conversations. I never used to listen to relationship conversations, but nowadays you can't help it because it's everywhere on social media. And I hear these conversations and I hear people talk about, I hear men a lot of times saying, men just want peace. Men just want to come home. We don't want a woman nagging at us. We just want peace. Thank you for the compliment. And I always say, well, so do women. I don't know, unless the woman is out of her mind, I don't know a woman who doesn't want peace either. Women also want peace, okay? Women also want to come home and not be yelled at or nagged at. And that can go either way. Because most people I know who grew up in a house with their dad, okay? Now, I'm not saying all, but most people I know who grew up in a house with their dad, especially old school, they will say that their dad was the one who was making the house not peaceful. Their dad was the one who usually was coming home with an attitude from work and yelling and screaming at everybody and had a temper. And people were more afraid of dad, and dad had a short temper. You hear that more than you do about mom. Okay? And so, I mean, I love my dad. I'm very close to him. He was in my life every single day of my life. But the few times he went out of town, like the few times he went to Spain or Paris to give a speech, it was so peaceful in the house, right? Because he was more the argumentative one. So when people act like, you know, being naggy or argumentative is a female trait, no. There's men who act like that too. It's a personality trait. And you could be male or female and be like that. And I'll hear men say things like, especially black men, I don't know how other men feel, but I definitely hear black men say things like, well, I don't feel comfortable telling a woman how I really feel or certain traumas that I've had because women weaponize that. And whenever I hear men say that, I'm thinking, no, the woman you dealt with weaponized it. And those people who do that type of stuff, they're narcissistic, okay? They may not be a full-out narcissist, but that's a narcissistic trait. And it's not just women that do that. Men do that too. I've been in relationships with men who acted like they loved everything about me, and then all of a sudden everything about me is a problem and they're weaponizing certain things. And those men had certain personality trait issues. They had narcissistic traits. I had to learn about narcissists. If you don't know what a narcissist is, you should learn, because a narcissist can really, mess up your life. It's the woman they deal with. Because when I hear men saying that, I'm like, dude, that doesn't apply to just women. You're dealing with women who have those traits. Like, I've dealt with men who've had those traits. It doesn't make me think that all men do that. They made me realize, let me learn how to identify early when a dude is narcissistic, so I can cut him off and keep it moving. I'm not like, I don't look at those traits as being male traits, because I know plenty of men that don't do that, right? And then it was like 4 years ago when I started to like really study narcissism and understand what that was. A lot of people think that a narcissist is just somebody who is full of themselves. No, that's not. No, a narcissist is a serious personality trait. And one of the things that they do is they love bomb you at first. At first, they make it seem like they're all about you. They're so into you. You're so amazing. They're your number one fan. And then they start to break you down and start to insult you. Those very same things that they complimented you about, now it's a problem. Kind of like what you see Kanye doing to Kim. Like, he used to idolize her, and I always wanted her, and she's so beautiful, and she's so great. And then now he's tearing her down. Like, that's narcissistic. That's what narcissists do. And there are actually more male narcissists in this world than there are female narcissists. Okay? But either way, narcissists can destroy your life, and they don't care about people. So there are people who've been in a relationship with a narcissist for years, might have been married to one, might have had kids with one, but with them for years. And it's a hard pill to swallow that person never cared about you at all. Because they don't. They really don't. Okay? But I always say men want peace, women want peace too. Men say things, and then I also will hear men talk about sex as if like, oh, like I'll see men post memes like, oh, like it'll be a meme where a woman says she's too tired or she's not in the mood. And then men say, oh, that's why y'all get cheated on. Well, dudes, newsflash, that's why y'all get cheated on too. Because every dude's sex drive ain't hitting, okay? Every dude's sexual skills ain't it. Every dude's penis size ain't hitting on something, okay? So there are men in this world with little itty bitties, uninteresting penises. There are men in this world who do not have any skills, okay? And you have or don't have a sex drive, okay? Because people's sex drives are different. Some men have very high sex drives, not all. Some women have very high sex drives. And a lot of times, those two people don't end up together. You could have a woman with a high sex drive with a dude with low sex drive. He got erection issues, whatever. And you'd be surprised how many men in their 20s have those type of issues. So a man thinks that, it seems like when I hear men talk, that they think that them having money is just enough. Like, oh, well, he got money, so he could do whatever. Well, it's like a woman might marry you because you have money, but then she's cheating on you. There's a lot of women who do that. I'm not about that life. I can't be in a committed relationship with somebody if I don't fuck with you for real. Like, I can't just get with somebody, because you have money. But a lot of women can, and they do. And that doesn't mean that they like having sex with you. And that doesn't mean that they're not taking your money and cheating on you. So I'm just saying, like, a lot of times dudes think that it's just them. And that's why I love female comedians. Because they'll tell jokes from a woman's perspective. A lot of things are from a man's perspective. Same thing with female rappers. Men have a problem now that all these women are rapping about sex. And all these women are rapping about what pleases them and what And they need to be turned on when they're being raw and real about it. Because I told you, women have tiptoed in men's egos for years. So when a woman is being upfront about that, oh, men are like, oh, it's too much, and all they talk about is sex. When male rappers been talking about their genitals and been talking about sex and all the chicks that they had sex with. Okay? And a lot of times those girls were only having sex with them because they were famous. Doesn't mean they like you for real. Kind of like, no, it is hilarious when they can't handle women's sexuality. Most men can't. And that's the reason why most women are not honest about certain things. Like, even when I see a lot of men talking about polygamy, right? And they'll be, they'll have this case to why it's beneficial for a man to have multiple women. So they'll say, oh, there's a shortage of women in the world. Not shortage of women, sorry. A shortage of men. They'll say, women outnumber men, so therefore it makes sense for multiple women to be with one man. Okay, that's one argument that could be made. But the other argument that could be made for, a woman having more than one husband is more resources. Okay, so if really the point of marriage, what people say, okay, the people who talk about this traditional thing and these traditional roles, and the woman is getting with a man because she wants resources, then she'll have even more resources with more than one husband. Maybe, and then you have men out here who maybe they don't have enough resources. So, but that doesn't mean they don't deserve love, just like men with little penises. Doesn't mean that they don't deserve love. They deserve love, right? But the fact of the matter is, they have to understand they would never please a woman with that little thing. So, but you do deserve love. I'm not saying that if you have an itty bitty, that you deserve to be alone for the rest of your life. But what you do need to understand is that you're not pleasing her with that. So don't be selfish. You understand there could be a use for another man, okay? If you don't have the resources, like there's a dude who may not want the woman to work, or he doesn't want her to do this job, or he thinks she's too busy or whatever, but he doesn't have the resources to stop that. So, or he doesn't have the resources for basic stuff, whatever. I'm just saying. Or maybe he does, but still more resources, right? And when you look at society, because for me, I'm very much into anthropology, to history, and I'm into pre-colonial ways of being. And when you look at how we were before we were colonized, a lot of things existed, okay? There were societies where women had multiple husbands. There were societies where men had multiple wives. There were societies where they just had one spouse and they had sex freely with other people throughout their community. There were situations where you had chiefs, heads of tribes that would tell their wife to have sex with a chief from another tribe, because then at wartime they had more resources, they had more food, they had they had allies. Okay, so it wasn't this watered down simplistic stuff that we now think of that comes from patriarchal religion. The world's three main religions that have brainwashed people's heads: Christianity, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Okay, no offense to anybody, but it's just true. You can just do the research. That has, because that's why I'm very much into pre-colonial. What were we doing before we were colonized? What existed? Looking around the world and all the different ways that people live, all the different societies that existed. Okay, you might have another case for a woman having more than one husband. Maybe there's women who marry men and the man's not around. Let's say he works all the time, or he has to go to a job in another country and he's gone for months. She got needs. Well, there goes a need for another dude. So I'm just saying, a lot of times these conversations that we hear are very one-sided, where men just want to big themselves up and, oh, men want peace and we just want women to be peaceful and nice to us when we come home. And so do women. Oh, we just want a woman to care about pleasing us sexually. So do women. Oh, we want a woman who keeps herself in shape. We don't want a woman who's letting her body go. Well, you think women want to do just letting his body go? She might be with you for resources. That doesn't mean she's attracted to you. She might be looking at you like, ugh. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, men want peace and women want peace. Men want pleasure, women want pleasure. Men want to look at something nice, women want to look at something nice. You know what I'm saying? And then you have situations where you got dudes who, and I've seen this happen before. Damn, sorry, that's my speaker. That always happens. I always forget to turn my speaker off. Then you see situations where I've seen this where you have a married couple and they have threesomes all the time with another chick. And then for years, right? And the woman might bring women into the situation, they having fun. Then one day the wife says, you know what? I want another dude. And he's like, oh, hell no. Absolutely not. And then I've seen couples break up because of that. Because the woman's like, after all these years of me doing this for you, and now I'm saying I want something, and then you're like, so, and that's what we mean when we say a lot of men can't handle women's sexuality, and why a lot of women hold back with speaking the truth about what they really want, because most men can't handle it. And women want the acceptance of men. You know what I'm saying? They want, I mean, there are men that can handle it, but they're very far and few between, and they're very difficult to find. Okay? So a lot of women don't want to be lonely, so they go along with the okie doke, and they're just worried about what society's going to say about them, and they want to be accepted. Okay? So I just wanted to say, thank you for the compliments. I appreciate it. Yes, the male ego is fragile. Yep. She said the women want so much more sexually, but they won't say it because they know the men can't handle it. That's a fact. That is definitely a fact. And so even in my life, there's times that I really was like in love with a dude, right? And he was a great guy in so many ways. But sexually, it wasn't enough for me. Like, I wasn't being pleased. But then I'm thinking, okay, this is another dude who could please me sexually, but he doesn't evoke loving feelings out of my heart. Like, I don't want to cuddle with him at night. I don't want to cook for him. I don't even really want to have a long conversation with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, but both of those are important. And it's ideal to find them in the same person. I feel like if I'm going to be in a relationship, I need to be pleased sexually, and I need to be stimulated mentally and like really like you for real. And like looking at you, you know. But boy, is that hard to find. Sometimes I'll be like, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. But I'm just not about that life of getting with somebody for money and resources and then living a secret life and cheating and being over here. One person said men can handle it. Most emotionally mature men want to know what you desire so they can fulfill it. The men that can't handle it aren't emotionally mature, or perhaps they're dealing with healing things, so they feel like they're being less than if they're asked to improve. Yeah, well, that's true. That is true, but I don't think most men can handle it. I do think that there are some men that can, but I mean, like, if a woman says your dick is not big enough, right? There's nothing he could do about that. Like, a woman might legit want it to be bigger. There's nothing he could do about that. Most men are not going to say, okay, I'm fine with you going having sex with a man who is more well endowed than me, so you can get that off. Most men aren't going to do that. Now, I'm not going to say none, because I know men who are okay with that, but that's a very small percentage of men. Maybe he doesn't, and sometimes you can't always talk to people about skills. Some people just don't have certain skills. They just don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people have super amazing tongues that could do all types of shit. Some people, no matter how much you talk to them, they just don't, you know? And so the fact that we're already raised in this culture to be so monogamous, people have this expectation that this one person is supposed to meet all of your needs, which is not really realistic. I mean, maybe that happens for some people, but most people, you're not going to find one person that's going to meet all your needs. And that's sexually and other ways, you know. The woman shouldn't choose a man who's not a match for her. Okay, that's true too. Now, that's a valid point. Now, what if this happens? What if you're with him and he's a match for you, but then he gets erection problems? That can happen. You could be with somebody and the sex could be amazing, right? And then also it's hard to find somebody who's matched in every single way. That's what I'm saying. Like, one dude might have great stroke skills, but he may not be that good at going down on you. Somebody else could be amazing at going down on you, but his stroke skills aren't that great. You know what I'm saying? But some people are still gonna, you know, like if some people could have a pretty good sex with somebody, maybe everything is not perfect, right? But they have a good sexual connection, but then they vibe on so many other things. Maybe they both want the same things in life. Maybe, you know, they really get along on so many other levels. They're building a business together. This is a good person to raise a family with. So somebody's not going to just scratch them off because they're missing, you know, they're falling a little short here. Because if you try to find someone who meets every single thing, That's kind of impossible. And so the fact of the matter is, it's just understanding that you can't always meet someone's needs 100% of the time. That's not always realistic. But I do think that, yeah, mature men, but I just feel like since most people were raised with religion, most men aren't okay with, if and the thing is too with the whole communicating thing, right? Like, I know for me, my body's very sensitive. So, like, I like a good massage, but not everybody is good at massaging. And when someone touches me in a way that irritates me, like, I can't teach you. When people say, oh, you can teach them, I can't teach you. Because you can't keep practicing on me. Because every time somebody touches me and I don't like it, it makes me irritated. And if you keep trying, like, by the third time, if I don't like how you're touching me, my body shuts down. I just don't want to be touched at all. So I'm not somebody that wants to teach somebody, right? So, and then sometimes people's skills fall off. Like, people act a certain way in the beginning. And this could be a man or a woman. And then as time goes on, their libido drops. They stop doing the things they used to do, and then sometimes people express that. Sometimes a man expresses that to a woman and she gets offended. Like, if the woman even gets overweight and the man's like, I'm not attracted to that anymore. Or she has a baby and her vagina is not as tight as it was anymore. Like, if he says that to her, she's going to get upset, okay? And the same thing is true with the reverse, Like, I wouldn't, if I'm with a man and I really care about him and he starts to get all these erection problems, I'm not going to want to point that out to him and make him feel worse about himself, So I'm just saying life is complex. And, let me read what she said. I believe in non-monogamy, so my comment isn't to counteract your point, but I think we don't give men enough credit because of bad experiences. We think all men are the same, but I can tell you for a fact that's not true. No, let me tell you, when you hear me speak, I always say not all men. I always say that. And I always say, I know people that are all kinds of ways, but the men who can really accept a woman's sexuality, like her raw sexuality of what she really wants, that's a very small percentage of men. Most men cannot handle that. Like, if a woman wants to have sex with two men, most men can't handle that shit. If you tell most men that, they're going to be like, oh, hell no. Right? So most women aren't going to say that. And that's what I mean. I'm not saying none, okay? Because, yeah, they exist. There's couples that do all kinds of stuff and go to swinger parties and do all types of freaky stuff. There's men that like to watch their women. All of that exists. But I feel like those people are the minority, though. Yeah, but definitely not all men. Definitely are not like that, for sure. I totally agree with you. And then, wait. Do I think a woman would stay with a man who allows her to sex a man who pleases her more? Yeah, because you could really love somebody, right? So I know 3 examples I could think of off the top of my head of a married couple where the man got an erection. He had prostate problems, right? So I know one woman who was married to a man. He had prostate cancer, and he could no longer have sex with her. And she was having sex with other men, and he knew it. She never left him. She stayed with him until he died, which is really sad. You know what I'm saying? She really loved her husband. Then I knew another woman who her husband had prostate cancer, and he was fine with her having sex with other men. And they had kids together. They were married. They had kids. And she definitely went out of town, had sex with other men, but she never left him. Like, she loved him. Like, that was, because sometimes you generally love somebody, like that's and then you're raising the kids with them, and you're like best friends, and you don't want to do that, but you still have sexual needs. That's what I'm saying. Sex and love are not always the same thing. Sometimes people have sexual needs, and it's independent of love, right? So, and then there was somebody else I know, a good friend of mine, whose cousin has prostate cancer, a male cousin, and the male cousin asked my friend, who's a male, if he would have sex with his wife because he couldn't please his wife, and his wife wasn't not trying to leave him. So yeah, I do think that. And no, but even if there isn't a problem though, I've known men who don't care about that. Like I said, they're a minority, but I do know men who don't care about that. And I do think. Oh, but your question was, would a woman stay? Yeah, if she really cares about him. A woman like that shouldn't want most men. She needs a special type of man. So if she keeps entertaining most men, that's why she's getting that experience. Very true. I'm a woman like that, so I have a very select type of man that I look for. Most men aren't my type. It's not that there's something wrong with them. No, I agree with you. And I can totally relate to that. I'm like that too. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to find men that really fit me. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's like, it's nice to have companionship, you know? But it's like, it's not in me to try to be somebody I'm not. Like, I know bisexual women who will act straight all day just because they want a man. And it's like, I can't do that. I can't act like I'm not attracted to women. I'm not going to do that for a dude. Yeah, it's nice to have a man in my life, but I'm not going to start acting straight. And a lot of women do that because men can't handle it. And to me, I don't believe in suppressing yourself. But sometimes when you don't suppress yourself, then you keep it real, sometimes it makes it a lot harder. It's like, you got to pick a side though, you know? Okay, love, I will definitely be hitting you up then. And so, yeah, I will be reaching out. I ordered some food, so I'm going to have to hop off. But I just really wanted to just say that, no, all men are not a monolith, okay? So I don't like it when people say, like even if a man speaks for all men don't like this, and men don't like a woman who's doing this, and a man doesn't like a woman who's showing her body, and a man doesn't like a woman who dresses that way. Men are not a monolith. You can't say that. There are men who like that. There are men who like other men looking at their women. There are men who like their girl to look good and don't have a problem with it. Like, men are not a monolith, and neither are women. So nobody can say women like this, women like that, men like this, men like that. No, because there's a variety of women that like different types of things. There's a variety of men that like different types of things. But all in all, generally speaking, I think that men and women both want respect, because I hear men say this all the time. All we want is respect. Women do too. I hear men say they want to be heard. Women do too. Okay, because you could be a woman and feel like you're not heard as well. Every woman doesn't feel like she's heard. Okay, I hear men say, I want to come home to peace. Women do too. Okay. There are men that want to be appreciated. Women do too. So I'm just saying, like, all these things are not unique to men. Men and women both want them. And when I hear men talking about, oh, women are crazy and they're, they use things against you. Another thing I've heard a lot of men say, women don't take accountability. I've heard so many men say that. I'm like, dude, you're dealing with some crazy ass chicks, because I've known men that don't take accountability. But I definitely don't think that those men that I know, who I dealt with, who did not take accountability, I do not put that on all men. I know that all men aren't like that. I know that those are the men I chose, okay? They have issues. People who don't take accountability for their actions, another narcissistic trait. And a man or a woman can possess that. That's not a female trait. You can't say that no woman take accountability. You know what I'm saying? There's women who don't take accountability. There's men who don't take accountability. And when you're dealing with somebody like that, then you need to recognize that and keep it moving. But that's not a female trait. And the idea that somebody wants sexual pleasure, or that they might want variety, or that they may need variety, that's not unique to men either. A lot of women are like that as well. A lot of women just aren't real about it. And that's why I really respect the wild woman, the women who could just be real about the shit, that don't care, that are not trying to suppress themselves to please society. Those are women that I respect, because so many women don't do that. And one difference between men and women is that I feel like men, generally speaking, are more proactive about getting their sexual needs met than a woman is, okay? So meaning, if a man's in a bad situation, a marriage or whatever, he's not being pleased, or even if he's single, like, men will do more to try to get their needs met. They're more proactive about it than a lot of women are. Not all women, but a lot of women. There are a lot of women who will accept a sucky sucks life, for years, and not do anything about that. So that's one thing that I respect about men. Like, when you see men take these like sexual tourist trips, vacations, sexual tourism, you'll see groups of dudes. Like, I'm not saying women don't do it, but women definitely don't do that the way men do it, where you have like groups and groups and groups of dudes. Or with men, if you have men that live together, or they know it, like husband, brothers, cousins, father and son, friends, like if a dude brings home different chicks and different pretty chicks, it's like, or he tells the dude he knows to leave the house because he's bringing a woman home. Men have this code where they understand that. They don't even trip on it. But women a lot of times aren't like that. If you're a woman and you're bringing different dudes home, or you're like, you ask a female to leave because you're bringing a dude home, they act so worried. Who is that? What is this? And they're all like, so it's totally different. So there are ways that men and women are fundamentally different in how our brains are wired, right? But all in all, okay, these conversations about what men want in a relationship that I keep hearing being hashed on, it's no different than what a woman wants, okay? And when I hear these men comparing, talking about, women sexually pleasing them and comparing that to them having money, it's like, dude, you could have money. That don't mean you're pleasing her. That doesn't mean that she don't want other men. You can't think that because you have money that she's not craving something else. Like, you can't be that delusional. But a lot of people stroke men's egos and make them believe that. And so I think a lot of women actually tiptoe on men's egos. And so I'm gonna end that with this. I'm gonna end that there. Yeah. So please make sure you follow me on YouTube. Make sure you follow me on IG. Share the video if you want, like it if you want, comment if you want. What are your thoughts? Have a good evening, people. I need to go eat. I'm starving. Okay. Bye-bye.